Shane. Welcome to my shop. Welcome to my channel. See, I got some new subscribers. Wanted to thank them. Want to thank the old subscribers that I do have, and I appreciate the interaction, the likes, the subscriptions. Hopefully that helps me get my content out there a little bit more. Hopefully you guys enjoy my content. We got some big plans, some big ideas, some projects coming up that I think would be pretty cool. I wanted to thank Doug Lester of Metalworks Machine Shop. His YouTube channel has a really nice Kearney and Trecker 2H. We kind of struck a deal on a heavy-duty vertical milling head for my Kearney and Trecker. So working on getting that paid up and shipped. So can't wait to get that here. I think I will more than probably have to make the drive gear for that. So there may be a video on that too, and a drawbar that it doesn't have, but everything else is there. Appears to be working, appears to be in good condition. And then that's almost everything that I need for that mill. Aside from that, it'd be the 16-inch rotary table that I can run off of the low lead gearbox. That'd be the icing on the cake. But eventually get all the pieces together. I'd like to clean this thing up, paint it the same smoke gray as the shaper here. I think that'd be a really cool, really nice looking. And I would eventually like to pull the thing apart, check it, scrape the ways. I'd like to get a little more proficient at all of that before I even try and tackle that, because honestly the machine works pretty good now. It's fairly accurate for, you know, an old milling machine, 1928 milling machine. And it's hard to take it out of service. That's why it still isn't painted. But I hope to get a lot of good use out of that vertical milling head. I have a bunch of face mills and stuff that I can only use on the horizontal spindle, and I think it'd be really cool to be able to set that up, let alone boring heads and stuff like that. So yeah, that'll be great. I am trying right now to procure a Lucas number 41 horizontal boring mill, which is going to be a tight squeeze in here. Probably have to get rid of some things, move some things, but really gunning for that. I put an offer in on it. I'm waiting for a response. I think I gave him a more than fair offer, so hopefully that works out. Hopefully that pans out, and then if it does, I got a heck of a lot of work to do. Today I wanted to do a video on my Warner Swasey turret lathe. Actually quit racking on me, so I was gonna tear it apart, and I thought maybe I'd record tearing it apart, diagnosing, maybe going over some parts of that, of what it is and what it is supposed to do, what it isn't doing, because I'd like to get that put together, and I'd like to do a demonstration with just the turret lathe operations, making parts. So also I'll take you over the bandsaw that I made the helical gear for is put back together and working. It's fairly quiet. There's a gearbox on the motor that's making a little bit of noise. I think we're just going to pull it apart and clean everything up and lubricate it. But it's always made a little bit of noise. It's not terrible. It's not hateful. I think it'll be fine, but I really want to check it because I don't want to have to make another gear for it. But yeah, it's running perfect, 125 feet per minute, just like it should. Slower than the Delta Rockwell, which is fantastic, because if you want to cut harder materials, carbon steels, like high carbon steels or stainless or anything like that, it's almost necessary. So hang tight. I'll take you over to the bandsaw, and then I'll take you just to show you that working, and then I'll take you over and show you what's going on with the turret lathe. Thanks. So there is the bandsaw. The old Walker Turner 14-inch metal cutting bandsaw. Gearbox has been reinstalled, put back together. Clean the table up a little bit. There it is. Nice, slow, 125 feet a minute. I'd do some test cuts, but I'm waiting on a bandsaw blade. Should be here today or tomorrow. Because I tried to use this thing running, wood cutting speeds on some mild steel, and I just pretty sure all the teeth are round now. So as soon as I get that done, maybe you'll probably see an operation if you stay tuned. And I put more videos out using a bandsaw. So that's that though. That worked out good. I appreciate all the views and comments on the videos making that gear and the input. So I take you over to the turret lathe now. Thanks. Alright, so this is the Warner Swasey number 3 turret lathe, and quick overview. What's supposed to happen, you have a 6-position turret. Obviously you can put whichever tools are necessary for a job on that turret, and it is supposed to rack forward, do your first operation. When you rack it back, it should release a bolt, like a deadbolt, that's on the bottom side of this turret, coming back, and then it should hit this little guy here, this little pin right here, and that should unlock this. This is a binding ring, is what it's called. That helps lock the turret in. It also helps keep the turret on the ram. When I rack it back to that, you can see movement in the binding ring, but nothing else happens. I don't want to force it because there's 6 pins on the bottom side of this. But at this point, when the turret is supposed to be free, it's supposed to hit a pawl. And when you rack back further, towards the end of its stroke, it should rotate this by itself and lock it into its new position. And then when you move it forward, it locks back up your binding ring, and it puts your bolt back in, your lock bolt. It's not doing that. I suspect that the lock bolt is maybe stuck in there. So what I'm going to end up having to do, pull all these tools off, pull the binding ring off, and pull the top turret and see if I can see what might be hanging up. But like I said, this would be a really cool machine to do a demo on, and that was kind of my plan, but it had other plans. So basically these are like pre-CNC World War II era machines that were used for high production hardware, or bolts or bushings or anything that you could figure. My plan was to make motorcycle grips and pegs, maybe hardware for projects, restoration projects, or machining projects that I might take on, or something that I want to build that has special hardware. The lathe also, it needs leveled at some point, so when I put that back together, I won't adjust anything quite yet. I just want to get it working. But you have adjustability in a horizontal and vertical plane by way of these gibs here, and there's also hardened steel shims in underneath your saddle on the back. There's little adjustment screws here that'll lock that tight to your bed, and that can mess with your adjustment too, as far as being centered up on your workpiece. So, but before you can do that, you got to level the whole lathe, which I started doing. I chased out all the threads in the holes and on the bolts. I just need to make plates for underneath it, so it's not digging into my concrete. I wish I had video of it. I recently pulled the head apart, inspected all the gears. They're all, I don't know if you can see them or not, they're all in pretty great shape. The only reason I pulled that apart was the brake wasn't working. It's a hydraulic cylinder on the back, and this thing has a 30 psi of line pressure pretty much at all times when it's running. And I believe if I remember correctly, there's constantly that pressure running through this hydraulic cylinder here, and when you apply the brake, it covers up an orifice and it runs that pressure to a ram that runs against a brake shoe plate that's hooked to this. This is your adjustment, and that stops your countershaft. But other than that, I mean, I'm hoping that this is just a stuck pin. I guess I'll get started tearing it apart and then bring it back, or get the tool holders off, and then I'll unclamp a binding ring and everything. And when that goes back together, there's some specs that you gotta take into consideration, or you can damage something. So I'll get the tools pulled off real quick, and then probably just take the binding ring off and bring it back in. Okay, hang tight. All right, so these are the pins that hit the pawl that's on the ram. I'm glad I tore this apart there, because there's a ton of swarf in this bearing. It doesn't look too tore up, but it wasn't far from getting tore up. So I'll clean it up and inspect it, and if I have to order a new bearing for that, I will. But I can show you what these pins are supposed to ride on. See, there is a feed ramp, and you can see that shiny little feed ramp in there. There. Come on, focus. All right, now you see that, the roller? That's the lever that's supposed to pull this pin down, and it does, but for some reason I think it's loose in there. I think it's out of alignment, because you got to work a little harder than I think you should have to make that thing actuate. So I think I'm gonna pull these top rails off and pull, you know, this piece here off. That's just for flood lubricant. I'm gonna pull it off, and I'm gonna pull the whole ram. I'll pick the whole ram up and look at it, because I think it may have come loose in there, and I think there may be some wear. But yeah, this bearing, you can see all the junk in this bearing. So still kind of hopeful. I'm probably gonna end up putting a bearing in, but I'll pull it apart and look at it. I'll pull the top rails off and bring it back. All right, so got the ram off. I guess this is just hinged. It appears this is just hinged. I may pull this off if I can and try and smooth that out, but I want to check the little wheel on the lever, on the bolt pin lever that hits this ramp, to make sure it's okay. But there you can see what happens. It runs up the ramp, and then it locks in, and then it's allowed to come back under. Let's see how that's shaped. A lot of chips in here. I don't see any crazy damage other than the bearing, and that may not be damaged, but it's not pretty. So I'm gonna get to cleaning here, and then I guess I'll bring you back. Alright, so what I found here, I'm pretty sure that some chips got stuck underneath this pawl, and it wasn't letting it come down far enough, and the little round catch on the lever was kind of deadheading right here. So what I did was clean it up, I mean fairly decent, and I think that I'm going to file this just a little bit down just to get these high spots off. So I'm sure that it's down far enough, and I don't think that shouldn't hurt the operation of the machine at all. And then I'll put some Vector #2 oil on everything, clean the ram up. There's the ram, the other side of the ram. So honestly, not too terrible looking. I think it'll clean up just fine and work, but I do need to get that bearing off and see if I can clean that up and pack it, or if I need to re-grease it. And then I gotta maybe figure something out so that it doesn't happen again. Okay. Alright, so cleaned up all the ways, all the moving parts underneath, lubricated everything. This here I cleaned up, a little bit of staining left on it, but I went over it with a precision ground stone just to get this. You see this ridge here, that was a little bit proud, so I got that taken care of. I managed to get the bearing off, cleaned out, free of chips. The rollers look nice, the race doesn't look terrible on the other side, on the turret. Repacked it with grease. I put Vector #2 on all the mating surfaces, the machine mating surfaces. So plan is to pop this guy back down. I want to clean the top caps and just lubricate, get the worst of the schmoo off of the gibs and stuff on the really non-essential sides, top sides where it's just accumulated. Bevel gears inside here, them cleaned up and oiled. Next I'm gonna probably clean up the turret, get that all squared away, and then I'd like to clean the binding ring and then put it back together and try it. Like I said, I'm not going to set it up or anything until the lathe's leveled. So I'll go over it, and I'll go over how to do that then, I guess. But I think for all intents and purposes, for me and what this machine's going to do, that should be better. Oh, so what I did here, I cleaned this up. I did end up filing down this little pad here, that this little feed ramp rests on, and then I used a precision ground stone. I stoned off the highs. It was probably unnecessary, but like I said, I really think that a chip got stuck underneath this and had it sitting just about perfect where it wouldn't go over. I think that'll square it away. All right, I'll get that ram back on, clean the turret up, try and get that back on quick, and bring it back, see if it works. All right, that got the bottom of the turret got the same treatment. I get all the chips out. I think this hole here was the entry point for the chips, and coming up through the bottom because somebody probably let them build up a little too high. I did real quick precision stone this mating surface, clean it up. I'll probably clean this up a little bit more, and then the pins here, try and get it as clean as I can, lubricate it, and drop it back on the lathe. This is all lubed up, ready to go. Everything seems to be working good, as it should. And then I'll final set the gibs and all that. All right, I get the turret cleaned up, put back on, and bring it back. Oh, all these are, this is just staining. And the old, I would imagine sulfur-based oil, cutting oil maybe. That's just staining. That's nothing really. Clean these up a little bit. Clean the parts I can't get really well, and then the parts I can get, I figured I can get later. I'm not trying to half-ass it, just trying to get it done semi-quick so that I can use the machine. Alright, I'll get the turtle and bring it back. Alright, got it all cleaned up, put back together, lubricated. I guess moment of truth here, does it rack? Sure does. I'm thinking it was just that chip underneath of that little ramp. You should be able to bring it to there, spin it wherever you want it. Somewhere in that vicinity. Everything's working. Everything's good. The binder ring is actually set correctly now. It's supposed to be unlocked. It's supposed to have some play in it. I lubricated all the pins and everything and the linkages that make that work. As soon as it locks in there, you can see it got real tight. So that's what it's supposed to do, engage and disengage. That probably didn't help anything, being out of adjustment, but I don't think that's what hurt it. I seriously think it was just that chip. Right, I guess that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate your time. I hope that was somewhat entertaining and maybe even a little informative. And I hope to be getting back on another video. Actually working on this lathe. Okay, thanks. Yeah, a little side note. I just wanted to make a point. I wasn't fixing to restore the whole back of that machine, but it is it's fairly decent. I'll measure it out then when I set it up and see how it runs, but that should be pretty close. I actually like the patina on this machine. I'd like to not do anything with it and just use it. But that's always the hope, but sometimes you can't get around a complete rebuild. But hey, everything's cleaned up and working good now. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm debating on changing the name of my channel to maybe just Winter's Machine or Winter's Machine Shop, and maybe have a decal or a logo, something like that, but instead of fabrication and design, saying machine or machine shop. Let me know what you think about that. And part of the reason is searchability. There's like 37 Shane Winters on YouTube. So, but I looked. There's not a single one Winter's Machine or Winter's Machine Shop. So it'd be easier to find for people, and I think that's probably a step in the right direction. So let me know. I'd appreciate a little bit of feedback. Thanks.